Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 FM. I'm Paul Kretschmer. In the second of 2 days of conversation with Carew Papritz about reopening school this fall safely during COVID-19.
I cannot truthfully see a way unless, like you said, I want to know who's going in there. I want to know who's infected.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Here in Connecticut, the governor has been making daily appearances most weekdays, similar to what President Trump did at the beginning of this whole works, which is to come on every day and say, here's the numbers, and I've got several guests here to tackle this COVID-19 thing from different angles. And he's kept it going right up to the present day. And Governor Ned Lamont periodically has the education commissioner for the state of Connecticut on. But so far as I can recall, they've talked mostly about will we open, won't we open, will it be a hybrid of some classwork along with some distance learning and so on. I don't remember them getting into what you might refer to as the clinical side of it, which is some of the things that you and I have just touched base on in the last few minutes. From your perspective, do you feel that officials like that should get into that clinical kind of stuff? Or is it perhaps they are afraid that if they go down that path that people will start getting either overwhelmed with details or hear something that for sure causes them to keep their kids at home, whether or not they can supervise them properly on distance learning? Because what I understand is that the retention level so far is not necessarily the best, but it depends on how much involvement the parents in.
Yeah, I had a good friend of mine, again, another teacher, who said he was talking about the superintendents in their district either making a decision or not making the decision, or the Department of Education, but that state's, I think it was Washington State, saying they weren't getting any. It was a very blurry situation as to what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
The same here. I'm in Arizona. The same in Arizona, and he's a pretty sharp cat, and he basically said no one wants to make a decision because no one wants the liability. And I thought, wow, that's really, really interesting. So to go somewhat to your point, how come we're not getting a definitive decision? Well, I know that we're also waiting to see how it's going to go. But guys, we're opening school here in 2 weeks in Arizona.
Yeah.
And they're going to go online for the first week, and then they can supposedly go back the 17th. And they said we can do a hybrid. Whoever wants to stay home can stay home, and whoever wants to go to school. And then I thought, now we're creating another situation. We're almost creating a caste system with students, and they're seeing their friends at school, and they can't go to school. I'm going, oh, brother, I just do one or the other. But
and here in Connecticut, where I am, a certain percentage of the students live in households where there is one computer, one broadband link if they're lucky, and two or more children who now have another field of conflict to deal with as young people, which is fighting to see who gets the access to the machine first, who has to wait, who has to stay up half the night, whether they want to finish their work on time and turn it in on time, and so on. And the parents are caught in the middle saying, look, I'm struggling. I'm trying to keep food on the table. I'm trying to keep a roof over our head. Computers is great, but I just can't. I really, truly cannot legitimately extend ourselves any further than this. And now this thing comes along. What do I do?
Yeah, I actually heard, and then we're back to that basket full of impossibles. Everyone's got to make this Sophie's choice sort of on how do we choose between all these impossibles. One interesting thing, this is the first time I heard this today, was actually it was seniors. They said seniors and freshmen could go back and take core classes. And I thought, now that's an interesting thought, to not do elective classes, not do all the outside stuff, but to be able to socially distance and maybe even stagger those classes. And I thought, all right, take care of your core classes. So that's some thinking outside the box. The other thought was, with the newest information coming through, about now 10 years and older has the same infection rate as an adult. Mm-hmm. I'm like, maybe middle school, and they can better handle, and I say that with quotes, being able to go online as opposed to the younger kids. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I think we all say the same thing.
It occurs to me while you and I are talking that the most experienced or seasoned teachers in the public school system, and probably in the private school system, school settings as well, are probably the same age where they are being told you are in a class of potential patients who have a higher risk from the COVID-19, so you are exactly the people who are the most qualified to lead the way, but you are also the most endangered from the pandemic, and so therefore you shouldn't be involved in it.
Amazing. We just like a dog chasing its tail.
Yeah.
Here's another interesting one in giving and going to these schools and again talking about let's go down to the simplest detail of what are you breathing? You have a mask on, and you're trying to keep kids from pulling and tugging, but they're going to breathe, and they're going to get that into the air. Most schools have central AC. I mean, look at us in Arizona; we can't live without it. And so, unless you are cleaning that air, and which you cannot put HEPA filters on AC systems because it actually breaks them. Right. You actually have to have air filtration systems in every room. Right. And back to dental offices, this is what I was recommending, to have that, and several offices have done that, and several schools have done that. There was a really good company, it's called Allen Corp, and they had pure HEPA filters. And let me tell you, the world of HEPA filters is unbelievable. But the pure ones, they're the ones that will get down to the 0.03 micron level, which takes out the water droplets. I'm telling you, it's that.
Wow.
But if you do not have those air filtration systems, and it's circulating the air not only in the classroom but throughout the entire school, if you don't have that, then guess what? You are breathing air that everyone else is breathing. And I thought, wow, it comes down to that level.
A few weeks ago, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about how the success in business of people who deal with HVAC down in the Philadelphia area, and what they've had to do, what they've been called upon to do by the hospitals, to retrofit ordinary wards or ordinary private or semi-private rooms to make them suitable for ICU use, and then what they do to turn around and reverse all of that when that need is no longer necessary. And it's not cheap, of course, by any stretch of the imagination. It's an expenditure of resources that the facility then does not have for other things, because as we all know, when you've got money in your pocket, you can only spend it once. Once it's gone, then it's gone. You don't have it anymore. So the whole thing is very trying.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. And I think the idea, and now we're back to the schools. I mean, we have a smaller school district. Actually, our school district is 100 years old, and it is comprised of an elementary school and a middle school. So we're fortunate to be involved in that. But it's interesting that's. And then the school district nearby has a few other high schools and elementary. They're much bigger.
Yeah.
But they have not even, our school district considered this, and they're actually buying the air filtration systems. But that's basically half of their emergency budget going toward that. But they realized if they're going to have kids back in, they have to.
Yeah. So in light of what we've been talking about then, Carew, then what's your recommendation for people to go to for further contact information so that they can take what they've heard and not just spin, but rather do something with it that matters for themselves and, more importantly, for the children they love?
I think it's important to get together in your group chats or on Facebook or wherever it is, or emails or socially distanced gatherings, and say, hey, what can we do to get our school board aware of this? Again, I'm pushing the testing part, but there's so many aspects that they have to be able to answer that question. Yeah. Well, I wish all your listeners to stay healthy and stay safe. And again, Paul, thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're welcome, sir. So long. This concludes 2 days of conversation with Carew Papritz about safely opening school in the era of COVID-19 in 2020. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of this station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from WIHS, Middletown.